So we played through the Solasta 2 demo the other day, and for those of you who have been waiting to sink your tooth into a Baldur's Gate 3 like experience, this is going to be it. Um, if you didn't play the first Solasta, Crown of the Magister, it came out right before Baldur's Gate 3 did. It's a 5th edition rule set, so it's the same exact rule set as Baldur's Gate 3. So for those of you who loved BG3, Celeste is really easy to jump into because it's the exact same rule set. It has the turn-based combat that you'd love from Baldur's Gate 3, as well as a rich and deep lore, which is a lot different than BG3 because it's not Forgotten Realms. The team from Tactical Adventures has their own world that they created for the first game, and in Solasta 2, you're picking up and going to a different place and doing different things. So behind me, I've got the demo playing from when I was streaming this the other day. You can catch the VOD over on YouTube if you didn't already. Um, I'm somewhere behind me because I'm just running my own VOD while I record this. Um, so if you haven't had a chance to watch the playthrough, the demo's about 3 hours long, 2 to 3 hours, depending on how you run through it. And you can see behind me, it looks absolutely phenomenal. I was playing with a controller the whole time, but you can do mouse and keyboard or controller. It's currently available on Steam if you want to go give it a shot. What was interesting about this is that the demo is actually a standalone adventure, which in some ways felt like they were, because the early access still isn't here. We don't have a timeline yet of when the early access is coming, but we do know that they are going to be doing an early access for Solasta 2. And you can absolutely bet your booties that we're going to be involved in that in some way, shape, or form. And I will be playing it and streaming it and everything else, just like we did for Baldur's Gate 3. I do have a full playthrough of the first game, if you missed it, as well as the DLCs. And if you want to go out there and grab them, you totally should. It's also, I should note, the first game is available on PC as well as all the consoles. You can get on the Xbox or the PlayStation. And the first game also has a dungeon creator mode, which allows you to go create dungeons with the assets and the tools, so you can create adventures for your friends as well if you want to run those. Anyway, as you can see behind me, everything in the demo is what you would come to expect from a pretty decent CRPG. It's obviously not as big of a budget as some other games might be. So it's I would say as their second game from Tactical Adventures, this is definitely still in the indie bucket, but it's looking incredibly well. This is done in Unreal 5. The first game was done in the Unity engine, so you're going to notice a massive upgrade in terms of the way the game looks. They've done a lot more in terms of cutscenes in this demo for what they're building with the second game. So way better cutscenes. Sounds like way better voiceovers. The character models obviously look vastly improved. Everything looks improved, and there's some really cool stuff in this demo, like the ability to swim across certain areas. It's not full swimming. You're not going to be able to like swim wherever you want, but there's places where you can swim to get across gaps. And one of the cool things I really saw in this demo was like, as an example, we were exploring along the shoreline of this area, and there was a tide functionality, meaning that there were these like platforms and areas that we couldn't explore until we rested at the camp and passed time, and then the tide went down. And we also saw some pretty cool reactivity happening in our first playthrough of the demo where there was a certain party of people that we could choose to rescue or not rescue. And in our rescue attempt, we failed the rescue attempt, which means I totally got to go back and play this again to try to actually see if I can't rescue them the second time. There's vaulting, you can crawl into things, you can destroy lots of objects, there's harvesting, there's crafting, um, there's all the things you would come to expect from a CRPG. And again, this is a 5th edition game. So if you're familiar with the 5th edition of Dungeons and Dragons, whether it's because you played tabletop before or because you played Baldur's Gate 3, then you're going to know how this game plays. So all the same spells are here. They do have some of their own unique takes on things, like the paladin in this party has his own unique oath, and the rogue is their own unique subclass of a rogue. The fighter cleric is a multi-class, which is something they've added to Solasta 2. Um, there's a lot going on in the demo, but the big thing here is I think it's just a great way to showcase what they are building with the second game without actually giving anything away of the second game's story or what they're actually working on with the early access. And whenever that's ready to happen, you can expect that we're going to be all over it. as soon as we can. Some of the things I love from this game, which they've carried over from the first game, is like the verticality is here. Like we can see our party members climbing up the wall here. We get these really good cutscenes. There are way more cutscenes in this than there were in the first game, which I think showcases the power of the Unreal Engine compared to what they were doing with the Unity engine. Um, and not only verticality, but we saw the verticality in the first game, and the ability to jump across platforms and everything else. That's definitely here as well as it was in the first game. The water looks amazing. We got some cool effects going on here. Graphically, it looks amazing. The music is fire. Everything I've seen so far from this has got me really, really excited. Like I knew I was gonna enjoy Solasta 2 because I enjoyed the first game and all the DLC, so I was always looking forward to what they were building with the second game. But now that I've actually had a chance to sink my teeth into the demo, you really need to go out and try it, especially if you're someone who is looking for a void to fill. Because you've played Baldur's Gate 3 like 20 times through, and you're like, I need a good CRPG to sink my teeth into. Ah, go try the demo for this, and if you like the demo, you should definitely go back and play Scholastic Crown of the Magister and the DLCs. That is, it's all the dice rolls are there. They've got a grid-based, turn-based gameplay system, so you actually have the grid laid out for you to help you understand where you need to go and how far you can move and things of that nature. Um, in some ways, I think some people have described this. I love the jumping here. Some people have described this as a more rule. There's an earthquake effect going on here. Um, this is more of a quick commercial break, everyone, to celebrate and give thanks to all of these amazing people who keep me on the air full time. Really appreciate the support. All you got to do is join as a member. You get access to private videos. You can also do super thanks on any upload or super chats and stickers on any live stream or premiere you see. And beyond that, don't forget we're multi-streaming over on Twitch now, so you can support over there as well. Thanks so much to everybody. Let's get back to the video at hand. And this is what other people have said, so I'm sort of paraphrasing here. Baldur's Gate 3 was D&D light, if that makes sense. Definitely a streamlined version of the 5th edition rule set, and definitely focused on, you know, massive cutscenes and the romance options and everything else. This is more of like, think about Icewind Dale 1 and 2, where you're just sort of a party of adventurers thrown together. So you're not going to have all the romance options and the complex relationships between the party members, but all of the mechanics are here. And this is not really a stripped down version. It's not really a streamlined version of mechanics. This is a more, I would say, I don't want to call it hardcore. That's a bad terminology to use, but this is definitely more of a rules um, specific version of D&D's 5th edition. So they definitely do more of the rules here, and it feels like this is more rules heavy compared to what Baldur's Gate 3 is like. So there are differences, but there are also a ton of similarities since they're using the same rule set. So for those of you who think you might want to enjoy it, you might have a good time with this. Now, because it does have turn-based gameplay, the combat is obviously very slowed down compared to other games. But like I said, all the same spells are here. So if you're familiar, you'll be able to use your magic missiles. The sorcerer operates in the same way. You've got your meta magic for the sorcerer. Your wizards work in the same way. Your paladins have their oaths. They have different races in this game. You do have your general dwarves and elves and humans and halflings, but they also have their own unique, because it's their own world, they have their own unique races, they have their own unique subclasses, they have their own unique versions of things, and their own unique classes, based on their own original IP. So that's one of the cool things about this, is being able to actually sink your teeth into the 5th edition rule set. And you'll see some of the combat behind me. We have the grid laid out. You don't necessarily, at least not in this early access. In the first game, you saw everything was literal squares. You don't necessarily see the squares in this one, but it's the same overall system. The blue is represented by, the current character who's selected. That's how far they can move before they're out of action points. And then if you go beyond that, you need to sprint, so on and so forth. So, and then at the top, you have, your active combat stuff. So, a lot of cool stuff here. I think, and again, this doesn't necessarily have the budget, Tactical Adventures doesn't have the budget that Larian had to build this game, but it remains to be seen what's going to happen with the early access for Solasta 2. And I think that if we get a lot of people who are interested in this type of gameplay, definitely check it out. You never know where things can go if enough people get involved. So check out the demo. It's on their Steam page. It's 2 to 3 hours long. There's definitely lots of outcomes, so you can play it more than once and have different outcomes. And it's quite challenging because there's no difficulty scaling at the moment. Um, so go forth, have fun. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see everybody in the next one. Until then, stay safe. Happy gaming, everybody.